Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've
Greetings.
been back. All right. I think we. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. You're at the right spot
Greetings
where
in
we left
light
off.
of the Infinite Creator. I'm Andrii Zvorygin and joined here today with Ashley, Bill, Ray, Ed, Michelle. And we'll be talking about social memory complexes and spiritual guides. Okay. And I guess, well, I already asked Ashley. Well, maybe Ashley will read one and then Bill will read one, or does that
Sure.
work? Sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yes, cool. I have another question in a series of questions about the concept of a social memory complex. In 16.32 of the Raw Contact, Raw says each member of the Confederation of Planets voluntarily places its social memory complex data in a social thought complex available to all. Can you say more about the central data repository and what it contains? Does it include the entirety of each member's memories? For instance, does it include their skills gardening or carpentry or drag racing or whatever? Or is it something more abstract? Thank you.
I am Quo, and am aware of the query, my brother. We enjoy speaking to this query, for it allows us to elaborate on our own beingness and reflect to you what awaits your planet and your so called human race as you progress into the fourth density and find yourself forming your own social memory complex, and we hope joining us of the Confederation in our journey in service of the one infinite Creator. This repository of memories is both, as you have framed it, abstract and quite practical. For when a social memory complex dedicates itself fully to service to the one infinite Creator and the expression that we experience of service to others, the unity of this decision is so full and so single pointed that placing the entirety of one's beingness, all of the lessons that one has learned, and all that one has accumulated through one's experience into such a repository, you may say, is a natural and easy choice to make. For when a group of social memory complexes operating in unity comes together and discovers a shared goal, as we of the Confederation have done, the desire to help each other in any way possible resounds within the social memory complexes and allows for a sort of meta social memory complex to form. Although there are meaningful differences between the unity among the Confederation and the unity found within a social memory complex, this repository contains anything that any member of the Confederation could desire to discover to learn. There are lessons taught among the densities and between the densities within the Confederation. But for those entities and social memory complexes of the Confederation who travel outward and attempt to serve planets, particularly those planets of the third density, they may easily call upon this repository for any type of information that might be helpful to them. Of course, this takes a certain aspect of will on the social memory complex's part to access it, and there is an exchange as they receive it. They also offer it their own experiences, and the needs of that social memory complex will dictate what is available to them in that moment. For it would be unnatural for a social memory complex to play or be curious, you may say, with such a repository. For as you enter into the fourth density and continue progressing along that path, the desire to serve others becomes so great that satisfying one's curiosity is no longer a question, but rather the need to further the service to others is the most pressing need of a fourth density social memory complex, and most fifth density and sixth density social memory complexes as well. And thus, any need that arises in their attempt to serve others is available in that repository. However, there are limits, of course, for it is in this service to others that we ourselves, as social memory complexes of the Confederation, learn. There must be opportunities for catalyst, and our main catalyst is in interacting with planets such as yours and attempting to serve and finding what distortions may result from that attempt and continuing again and again in our attempt to serve, to rectify any distortions and to come further and further into unity with those we are serving and the one infinite creator. Is there a follow up to this query, my brother?
All right, thank you. So, what are your guys' reflections on that?
Um, First off, it made me um, really happy to hear that uh, their hope is for us to um, join them in the Confederation, and how exciting that will be as we create our social memory complex and join with theirs. Uh, can you imagine all of the years we've read this material, and then we'll be merged in mind and heart with them directly, meeting them and connecting with them as we've listened to them for decades and decades. I just felt this amazing excitement for that future. And if they're, as they called it, the meta social memory complex repository, we there I can sense that they also would like all of our experiences as a humanity in this civilization template, which is so vastly different from all of them. As they've said, like we have a very special experience. And so to add that in, I'm sure they're excited about that too. All that they could learn from truly connecting with our social memory complex. So it's not this detached experience where they come down a little bit, but they'll actually be able to feel and think as we have. So that's very special. Made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Nice, nice.
And just dealing with the question in general, they just kind of answered it straightforward, saying, "Yeah, it's basically everything." And then, I guess entities can shield information or guard information if they want to. I would suppose, but it seems like once you're in a social memory complex, your desire isn't to be guarded at all. It's whatever information happened or whatever experience you had in life, whatever we can help the whole social memory complex or creation or creator, everything is there for the taking to basically help serve the creation and ultimately the creator. And like they said at the very end, they're in the higher density and they don't get the catalyst, so like we do. So they, in their attempts to serving us, they kind of are observing our catalyst, and they're not dealing with it personally, but they're observing it and taking it in, and it's going into, it's all going into the database, the cosmic
Yeah.
base.
Well, they're
It's
also interacting with
mhm.
us, and I was just gonna say that as we progress on fourth density, eventually, the Earth social memory complex will join the Confederation as a whole.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hope.
Well,
Um,
it seems to be the main line, anyways. Most probable outcome right now.
I I think it was very um, it made a lot of sense that their interaction with us would be their catalyst. Like, and then they see how it affects us and how I guess the energy changes globally and individually, and like so that the very fact of them interacting with us being their catalyst, I think, is also very special, and just kind of calls to mind that like we when they ask us to um, connect with them in meditation, like I think that's also part of their experience of catalyst as we directly or attempt to directly engage with them. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. Oh, The one thing I found that was really important is that they said from the fourth density, um, you don't necessarily have this. You don't have this desire anymore to just peruse the repository for curiosity's sake. And I feel like that's a very stark contrast to 3D, where it seems to be the hallmark of the seeker to always be curious and to always have a question and to always want the answers to the secrets of the universe. But then when you evolve into this whole other level where you could get more information on those secrets and get those answers, you kind of don't anymore because you're singularly focused on service, on the call, driven by that unconditional love and understanding. So I think that's very special to know that it's not really like you go over and then every question is answered and all of that. Your focus completely shifts.
Yeah, there's a point where you're no longer interested in the transient.
Yeah.
You're seeking eternal principles, whatever you're gleaning and distilling. You're trying to find these deeper meanings.
Hmm.
We're not trying to find out what's on Oak Island, if there's archives under the Sphinx,
Yeah.
what's going on in Antarctica, where are these alien bases underneath the ocean,
True.
all that stuff.
Because they could just remote view it and be like, "Oh, there they are."
Well, they don't even do that. They know all this stuff is going on, and it's the creator knowing itself. No big deal. Now, what can we deeply learn? We're trying to come to some very high understandings.
Ed?
Yeah, I was going to say that the I think that it comes down to the fact that we're all going to have to kind of learn how to access the Akashic and how to kind of connect up to timelines and connect up to the past and connect up together and amongst ourselves to form a social memory complex. That's kind of part of the process. I think, like, us all kind of understand oneness together, right? So surely the same thing would just be the next step up, but in a much broader sense. So, our Akashic collection of all the combined greater consciousness of humanity forever combines with the greater consciousness of all of these other races from all over, and we exist as a oneness thing. But I think that once you kind of got that connection to the Akashic and that you can watch an atom go from the Big Bang all the way to the end of the octave, like, you probably don't need to go and check that out on all the other races, because now that you've got that kind of awareness,
Hmm.
you know how it all works, the whole universe wide, right? As above, so below, in, without, all that. It's the same everywhere.
Well,
There's different ways to learn the lessons, right?
at that point, you're really intensely trying to serve. You're doing what you can to serve the creator and its creation.
And that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
because of the fact of that process that you go through, that you have to go through to get to where we're going, you're going to end up being that way. You're not going to care about going and checking out some island or whatever else, because Earth wouldn't have had like lies and like crap like that for like 50, 100, 200 years. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what Bill was saying.
Mm. Desire to serve others becomes so great that satisfying one's curiosity is no longer a question. Any need that arises in their attempt to serve others is available in that repository. There must be opportunities for countless attempting to serve and finding what distortions may result from that attempt and continuing again and again in our attempt to serve. So yeah, like they tried to serve in Egypt and were misunderstood and taken as gods, and they've been trying to rectify the situation ever since.
Yeah, what a heck of a catalyst Ra brought on themselves, and we got sucked in with it.
Mhm.
No. They underestimated humans. That's on them, right? We are formidable, right? Like you can't blame them.
And,
Yeah, no,
and we got to remember that they've told this the Confederation saw our harvest after the first cycle and the second cycle and saw how poorly it was going, and they became quote unquote concerned.
mm,
Oh
Which is
yeah.
really weird, yeah, because that whole idea, if you look at it, say have you seen you heard the
Why
Urantia
would it
books?
be weird? Oh,
Well,
you're
because
explaining.
in the Urantia books, yeah, that
Okay.
same idea is that when Jehovah comes back, we're supposed to give him handmaidens and masters to take back with him into the stars. Um, if he comes back and he comes back empty-handed, then he just murks the planet and starts again. So I'm just saying, like, if we're taking the same, harvest time thing as what the Confederation is saying, well, it didn't work that time, it didn't work that time. They're doing it all nice and logically and whatever else. But your answer books say basically, if the creator turns up and you're not hitting your quota, right, there's price to pay, you know.
And we know that your answer book isn't Confederation material.
right.
Right.
We also know that they don't dismiss it, and we also know it's huge and there's some crazy stuff in there. Just saying.
Well, didn't they say that some um uh, like under never mind, I can't remember the name of it.
Okay. Did we want to move on to the next question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we beat this horse pretty good.
Yeah. Is telepathy needed to share memories and experiences in a social memory complex, or can it be done verbally or through electronic means such as our internet? I
And
guess.
just go ahead and keep reading, Ashley. I'll
Oh,
read the next one
okay. Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay.
if you want to.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I am Quo, and am aware of the query, my brother. This is an interesting query, for there is not a single answer, necessarily, and it requires us to ask you, and any who become aware of our words, to release the rather strict and confused understanding of what your peoples have called telepathy. For this is, in your perception, a type of communication that you have related somewhat similar to your normal mode of communication, that being speech. Whereas once a social memory complex reaches a point of being a social memory complex, the communication that happens is not so linear and is more responsive, you may say, to the moment and the needs of the entity in that moment. And so it is true that you could call this access to memories a type of telepathy. However, it is much more natural, you may say. From your perspective within the third density, telepathy is not a common experience and is something that can be developed and worked upon. But in an environment where it is natural, it is not noteworthy. It is simple beingness of the social memory complex. Just as your body may experience some sort of communication within itself, it needs food and thus it signals to itself hunger, so too does a social memory respond to its needs naturally, without the need to focus as you would need to with your own experiences of telepathy. We hope that this odd response has made some sense, for it is difficult to describe the conditions of fourth density and a social memory complex in the perspective that would make sense to a third density entity blessed by the veil of forgetting. Is there another follow up to this query, my brother?
Not right now. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. Well,
That made a load of sense to me.
yeah, it made a lot of sense to me too.
Yeah.
That just seems like yeah, I totally feel like that happening in our day-to-day life like more and more. Whereas,
It is.
yeah, people just like, you don't have to say so much anymore. People just like feel it, and then you just like smile, and like and they know, and and everyone's happy.
Yeah. And it's comforting to know, because there have been discussions about this in the chat of other Lu groups. Uh, this idea of like, you know, how does it actually work? Are we going to have to learn this as we do here, where we do exercises, specific exercises? But it seems from Quo that it'll just naturally unfold. We'll just naturally be able to exchange thoughts and emotional states. But a key thing is that the telepathy they mentioned, the telepathic connection is moment by moment and geared towards the needs of every entity. So it's like if you needed compassion in that moment because you're reliving your other brother's incarnation where he died horribly or whatever, then you would just receive that in the moment. Your body would signal, okay, I need compassion or I need attention. And we would just respond to each other. Um, Similar to how the body responds internally.
Well, the one sentence in this that just sums it up, it says, but in an environment where it is natural, it is not noteworthy.
Yeah, so it's going to be very natural and easy for us.
Yeah.
Michelle.
I recently was notified that a lady I know has been put in memory care, and I shared this with a friend of mine that I'm hoping to telepathically connect with her. In conversations I've had with her in years prior, she has recounted communicating telepathically with her grandfather. So I'm like, okay, now I have a situation in which perhaps I can validate my own ability in that space. I'll find out tomorrow if I go see her. But,
Have you watched the telepathy tapes?
Yes, I have been. I'm like halfway into season 2, the 10th, and it's the one I've saved for last. So,
Well, I reckon there's probably those in there that's just going to help you on that endeavor.
yeah.
I remember reading, there was this, it was actually fairly popular book back in the day. It was actually a sci-fi, and in it there were like these people living underground, but one of them kind of escaped, and then he went to a food forest community on the outside, which was supposedly uninhabitable, but there was a food forest community, and apparently there everybody communicated, like telepathically or like a social memory complex, and they didn't need to speak. The only reason they still knew how to speak was because they liked singing. And so like because they would sing basically like how we go to church and we sing together, praises to God. So they would basically sing praises to God together, and so because of that they still had, the ability to speak. They just didn't need it in day-to-day life because everything just kind of like everyone just knew, you know um, like someone would come up to you and they're like, you would know, oh, they're hungry, or and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the Manny P. Hall and Theosophy, maybe Edgar Casey as well, information that about the continent of Lemuria. They said that apparently the first Lemurian people didn't talk at all. They just communicated telepathically, and obviously it didn't end well for them. But that one of the first things that they learned, how they actually learned to communicate before language, was purely through in telepathic means. And the leftover Lemurian genes that we might still have left in us would literally be kind of that same basis. Like we're supposed to be communicating telepathically Words are basically like to make do because of the fact that we can't anymore, or we're not we don't anymore anyway. Yeah.
Right. It's a little
I,
I,
okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, it just what Ed was saying reminded me of this Dolores Cannon story of what happened behind, like, why did Lemuria sink? And apparently, well, this particular regression, it was of a girl, and she was living in Lemuria, and she had this ability where she would see three windows of possibility in front of her. One was like a bad outcome, like a high catalyst outcome. One was a medium catalyst outcome, and one was a low catalyst outcome. And so she was just like, going about, doing that and whatever. But then eventually the priests found out about this, that she had this ability, and then they kind of put it under control that they would always pick the lowest catalyst outcome. But as time went on, the other options were like higher and higher and higher catalyst, and eventually there was no. It got to this point where that they had no choice and they had to pick one of them, and well, basically everything it just like crashed because of all of this accumulated catalyst that hadn't happened. It all came at once, and so the whole thing sank.
I
That's
thought
crazy
it
because
was
that could be the root of the Chronos story. Sorry, Ray, dude.
Chrono?
Right. I thought that Ross said that they're trying to stay because of Earth changes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Raw said basically that they were innocent of this, and it was some aliens that were on the other side of the planet, and they were just fooling around with the grid of the planet. And who knows, you know?
What I learned is that there are several ages of Lemuria. It's Lemuria 1 through 4. We're currently in the age of Lemuria 5, but it's still information. But in Lemuria 1 through 4, each age had its own saga of that civilization, and certain things happened. So that's why you have the differences between Ra saying, okay, it was Earth changes. That was Lemuria 1. Lemuria 2, there was a whole other saga. And this is why other races get involved. Like, there were different ages of Lemuria, not just one Lemuria. That's it.
100%. When I was saying about how the first people in Lemuria didn't speak, that was only Lemuria 1 because they needed to develop talking rather than just pure telepathic communication because of what happened in the first kind of schism and issue thing.
And I just wanted to add that also, you know, we have a large number of people that incarnated here from other planets, and so it's possible this girl's or lady's past life was from another planet as well. But I just found it to be a good kind of fable type lesson, in terms of that if you avoid catalyst for too long, you're going to be dealing with a lot of catalyst.
You can never run from catalyst.
Exactly. So it's that's why I always prefer to, do the hardest thing first, or like deal with the catalyst head on, because I don't want to have to deal with an overburden of catalyst later.
That's very smart, and that's a practice to keep in mind all the time. Like even today, it will make things a little bit smoother.
Yeah, if you learn to process catalyst every day, it becomes almost automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a situation, you're like, holy crap, that situation or circumstance really messed with my head. Okay, how am I feeling? What's going on? Oh, let's look at the opposite
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and just go through the process, and then you let it go. And to the universe, I give you this day. Thanks a lot.
Mhm. All right. So, did we want to do the next one, or
Sure.
someone else? Okay. I have a query regarding related to the previous answer about telepathy and thought and will, and oftentimes we perceive thoughts as maybe we create them. They come from within. Sometimes it seems as if we discover them from elsewhere or from outside. I'm assuming both are true, or that both can exist together, and then also when one uses direct thought. Can we look at this as a microcosm of the first thought of the focusing of love into a moment as the creative principle? And if there are any ways we may think about thought, and will that may be helpful to us in our third density experience that we don't see initially when we just define these terms and look at them on their own? Any way you might be able to speak with to those concepts in that regard?
Hey, before we go on, I want you to look closely at this question. And
Okay.
it goes on the second sentence, it says, and if there are ways we may think about thought and will, because you kind of went to thought and you slowed down, and because you can look at that sentence because you think about thought and then you go, and will that be helpful? But it says think about thought and will.
Oh,
So I think about thought and will that may be helpful. So it's kind of a confusing
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
right there. You don't know if it needs a comma or not.
Mhm, mhm.
Because I think
Well,
she
they
in the
can
first
transcribe all of this stuff. They're really like, old school.
well in the first paragraph, I bring this up because because I read the question over a couple times because the first paragraph at the very beginning it says about telepathy and thought, comma and will. So I think
Mm.
it means we may think about thought and will.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Okay, so they mean and will comma.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just guessing on how the question's arranged.
So did you want to read the answer here, Bill?
Sure, I can read it. Unless, do you want to read it, Ashley?
You can read it.
Okay. Okay. I enjoy listening to you read, but I'll read it.
I mean, I can read it if you if you
Yeah,
enjoy
go
it.
ahead and read it. Go ahead and read it. I'm enjoying you listening to
Okay.
you.
Um. Okay. We are those of Quo and find that these questions mine to the depths of the nature of reality itself and are of those energies which set the motion. We correct this instrument. The creation into motion. Those being that of focus, that of will, that of concept, and that of thought. These aspects of the manifest one are bound up intricately in various ways. They are fundamental portions of your own incarnate experience as the third density being, which has graduated thanks to the more rudimentary experience of thought from the second density, that their circumference of awareness expands to include a sense of differentiation, of individuality, of being seemingly distinct and separate from one's surrounding environment and other selves, and finding in that separation the personal and interior experience of thought. Indeed, we would suggest to the seeker reflecting on the nature of thought that the journey is largely and primarily one of thought, and thought forms in the dynamic relationship between the perception of self and the awareness of self and the thoughts which exist within what seem to be the confines of one's being. These thoughts which you experience are of a nature that can be both, as you surmise, generated from within and existing independent of the self. A thought is an entity of its own right. It is a manifest, limited, finite aspect of the Creator, in its myriad manyness. The thought forms may be shared by various nested layers of collectives, from small groups to those identified with a national boundary, to a planet as a whole may share a thought form or a set complex of thought forms. And these take on an energy and a point in time space, you may say, that is unique to them and independent of those who participate reciprocally in this thought, feeding this thought and being fed by it, as thoughts contain story and narrative and identity and meaning and so forth. A thought may be attracted to the self by the self's vibratory rate, by their unique pattern of blockage and activation and balance. And a thought may fall away from the self as the self continues upon their upward spiraling evolution in the journey of coming to know the self and accept the self, and ultimately transcend the illusory notion of the individual self. Thoughts dance in and out of one's field of awareness. Thoughts may stay for quite some time or visit for a short time as the self studies and contemplates the nature of these thought forms and complexes of thoughts. One may come to see how thought permeates virtually the entirety of manifest creation, that the fabric of the creation itself is that of thought, of various states and vibrations coalescing into complex forms like a mind-body-spirit complex, like a planetary being. And the further one moves upon their journey, they may see that the self is not one's thoughts, but is instead that awareness which experiences one's thoughts. And as that awareness deepens and expands, such that the underlying unity of creation is begun to be perceived, one can begin to access that reality where the self, the individual self, itself, is perceived to be a thought within the mind of the Creator itself, that the individual self is a thought which the Creator is having. This entity that you are, and your entire biographical and multi-incarnational journey, your joys and your sorrows, your gifts and your limitations, is a manifested thought of the Creator, a certain path which the Creator wished to explore, a way for the Creator, shall we say, to think, to explore, to experience, as you interact with myriad countless other selves, doing very much the same at various levels, whether that be the wind and earth of the first density, or the beings of your inner planes, or that light which greets you from beyond your dimension. This deepening awareness of the nature of thought is indeed facilitated by the entity's increasing ability to invoke, harness, and direct that power source within, which is, as you have identified it, the will. Without conscious application of the will, the entity will be used by the conditioned patterns of the self, by the expectations of society, by the cultural norms which the self has absorbed and internalized, and or which have been imposed upon the self.
Hey, can we stop right there and go over that?
Sure.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because the next sentence starts at, and at the unconscious level. So they kind of start going into that level. Yeah, I'm really curious about how the AI is going to put that together. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Seems to come back to the fact that we're all thought, and well, we're not thought. We have thoughts, but we're experiencing the thoughts, and how alive thought is, like living beings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is like Hermetics 101, rule number one, all is mind. written in far better, like, readable context than Hermes ever managed to get on a bit of paper. I'm just saying.
So, in this teaching, Kuo explores thought, will, and focus as fundamental forces that set creation into motion. Thought is presented as both personal and collective, arising within the self while also existing as an independent aspect of the creator. The seeker is invited to see third density life as a journey through thought forms, guided by will and refined through awareness. As awareness deepens, identity shifts from identification with thoughts towards recognition of the self as the conscious experiencer and ultimately as a thought within the mind of the creator itself. Points for seekers with quotes. Thought, will, and focus are primal creative forces. Kuhl framed these qualities as foundational to existence itself. These questions mine to the depths of the nature of reality itself, those being that of focus, that of will, and that of the concept and thought. Third density centers on the experience of thought. Individuality arises through interior awareness and reflective thinking, the personal and interior experience of thought. The journey is largely and primarily one of thought and thought forms. Thoughts arise both within and beyond the self. Thoughts function as real entities with their own patterns and histories. These thoughts can be both generated from within and existing independent of the self. A thought is an entity of its own right. I think this is kind of an important point. Like, I feel like this is so true. It's kind of like a meme, like how memes spread. It's like thoughts spread similarly, like, and they kind of spread through the creation. Like, I've seen, sometimes I have a thought or I experience a thought, and then I see other experiencing the same thought. Anyhow, thought forms operate at many collective levels. Shared thoughts shape families, cultures, and entire planets. The thought forms may be shared by various nested layers of collectives. I guess that's what I was just talking about. A planet as a whole may share a thought form or a set of complex of thought forms. And that's kind of like an ideology would be a complex of thought forms.
It's also, I think, plays into our experience of reality. We all have the collective thought form of what trees are, of what gravity is, of what the sky is like, and all these very experiential aspects. And some bring up that, oh, well, if we create our own reality, well, how come the trees don't change when I will it? Or how come I can't make the water turn purple? But if we think about the fact that we have a collective thought form that we share, it's like because we all have, like, billions have agreed on the thought form of this is the way Earth expresses,
Mhm.
then one thought to change that template simply won't be enough. Not enough will to mess with the collective dream of the planet, the collective thought form of the planet in this way with these physics.
Yeah, I would call that common shared reality.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is what I was trying to do with the president. So
And then, but yeah, there are, interesting, pseudo counter examples, anyways, that at least in isolated settings, like Tibetan monks, they can press their hand into the stone, and leave an imprint, and things like that.
For me, I feel like that is an application of the harmony between their will and their unity, like their ability to connect with the intelligent infinity and whatever that is in the rock. Like, there, that allows them to merge with it. I don't see that as like breaking any laws of reality, because it's like their personal connection with their will to that creation.
And,
But if
and by will, do you mean like them practicing all the time and their desire to do it?
yes, their the saturation of their desire to merge and connect with the rock in that way.
And their practice, the sheer amount of time
Oh,
they
for
put
sure.
into it.
For sure. For sure. That those practices build their will.
Right.
Mhm. That reminds me of there was this Tibetan monk, and he was praying, for a sign that he wanted to see Padmasambhava, which is kind of like the arch deity of, or well, he was kind of like the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. And just like Jesus, he ascended into the sky and is kind of like available for his followers. And so he was walking along one day with like a nun or some other people from his temple, and then he saw Padmasambhava, out of a cave, waving at him, and he was waving back, and he was so happy. It's like finally I saw Padmasambhava. And then at some point, nun, what do you call it? Nudged him on the shoulder, and it's like, "Hey, you're sinking! You're sinking into the rock."
Oh,
Yeah. So there were like multiple signs happening at the same time for him.
wow.
Mhm. But I think it also has to do with that he was in a community of people that believe in these things. You know, Ed, go ahead.
Well, we can't forget that we all exist inside a dream, right? This the stone is a dream, the Tibetan monk is a dream, the hand is a dream, the handprint is a dream, you know. Now, but the thing is, we've all got to realize that we're all in the shared dream, right? So we're all in the same dream. So there is one dream. That's why it's all kind of the same. But
Are
people that
you?
could press on the wall and leave their handprint or whatever else, basically they're just lucid dreamers.
Excuse me, Ed. Are you using dream as a thought, as the idea of a thought?
I'm using the description of what Ra it said we are. We are just dreams dancing in the ballroom of the dream, right?
We are dancing thoughts in a
Right,
ballroom with no material.
right. So it is. So the dream is a thought.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's the creator's thought.
and
There is only mind, man. There's nothing else. There's only thought. Everything else is built from that.
and actually, the first person that I know of in history to have imprinted one of their body parts in stone was actually Jesus. Well, at least this is what they say, that because he also traveled after he was killed, on the cross. He went to, what was that contested region in India and China? Do you guys remember? Uh,
Tibet,
no, not Tibet.
Tibet.
That's not contest. That's not contested.
Huh?
Nepal,
Huh? It starts
Nepal,
with K. Um,
Starts with an A.
K.
K.
And it's also the point.
Kashmir.
Kashmir. That's right, in Kashmir. So he went to
Oh,
Kashmir.
that's India.
Okay, yes. Well, it's also claimed by China. Kashmir is also claimed by China.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so he left his footprint there, and you can actually see You can see the hole of where the nail went through, and they can tell that it was when they had nailed his feet, that they had done it with a single nail going through both feet. So that's pretty impressive, I think. And then hundreds of years later, Padmasambhava, who actually arose near that region, may have known about this and then brought those teachings over to Tibet, which isn't that far from Kashmir. Anyhow, so that
Very
had to do with what it was saying here, where these thought forms can be generated within, and then they become nested layers of the collective, and then the planet as the whole is aware of these thought forms, and they kind of.
I think that describes the 100th monkey effect.
Oh yeah, that too. All right, I guess let's read on then. Okay, so interstate influences which thoughts remain or fade. A thought may be attracted to the self by the self's vibratory rate. a thought may fall away as the self continues upon their upward spiraling evolution. Awareness grows beyond identification with thought. Spiritual maturation brings recognition of the observing awareness. The self is that awareness which experiences one's thoughts. The individual self is perceived to be a thought within the mind of the creator itself. Each life is a thought explored by the creator. Personal history reflects a unique avenue of divine exploration. This entity that you are is a manifested thought of the creator, a certain path which the creator wished to explore. That's a comforting thought.
For sure.
Will directs and refines the inner life. Conscious will supports freedom from conditioned patterns. This deepening awareness is facilitated by the entity's increasing ability to invoke, harness, and direct the will. Without conscious application of the will, the entity will be used by the conditioned patterns of the self. Ah, yes.
That's very important.
Yeah. So you have to use your will to, otherwise your body will just be, a robot, just going through the motions.
You'll be at the mercy of everything that is around you, going on around you without any real personal direction.
Hmm. And this one as well. A thought may be attracted to the self by the self's vibratory rate.
That's powerful.
Yeah. I like right now. I know, like I'm working on this AI orchestration language, and I've gotten to the point where I think I'm on the cusp of being able to take like a text description and then make one of those YouTube videos that has like the images or like a video and then like a voice narrator. And so it's kind of like this is one of those that's the vibration I'm at, and like so this thought like keeps coming to me, and then also kind of to help with raise awareness of how we can get out of this land hoarding crisis and into a where everyone has enough land to meet their needs world.
Andrii and his little techno servitors.
Yeah, exactly. Together, these reflections invite seekers to work gently and deliberately with thought and will, recognizing them as creative expressions of the one experienced through the lens of third density life. All right.
Okay, so I just got one thing to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking as creator, I'm having a great ed experience.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I'm having a great Andrii experience, I guess.
I think it's so special that, the creator wished to explore each of the aspects of our beingness, and that infuses every living being with a preciousness, right? Because that's not just a beaver or a guy you don't like, or it's the creator who wished to be and explore that in that way. And so that means everybody's life path is special and precious, even if we don't understand it, even if it's counterproductive to our own thoughts and desires. Even every life is precious, every incarnation is precious, because that's not just the shell of what we think it is. That is our one infinite creator having fun.
Yep, even if you're complaining about it all the time. Like
We're
I've
going to
been
do that.
lately. I'm blaming it on the creator. It's not my fault.
And you
But
can
you are the creator.
you can do that as the creator.
Yeah. It's all my fault. Oh.
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. It's your fault, but it's my fault.
Everything's always perfect. There is no fault. You got to zoom out, guys.
Yeah, it's just a
I
surprise.
know. I'm joking.
That's one of the things I like about the Confederation. There are no mistakes. There are only surprises.
Yeah, surprises and synchronicities.
Yeah.
It's all in good fun.
All right. Should we continue reading?
Yeah. This is deep stuff, though.
Mhm.
Yeah. At the unconscious level, this will be given away to sources outside the self, including and particularly those who would seek to commend the self, those of your friends of the negative polarity, those who would wish you to be unawakened to the sovereign power inherent within your being. But through the process of spiritual awakening, the self becomes aware of this conduit to the Creator, this ability to direct the journey to the One, which is most powerfully manifested not necessarily by reordering the life or reordering the universe, but by applying the attention and focus to the catalyst of one's life. By, instead of being unconsciously pushed and pulled and torn and subsumed by the catalytic patterns of one's life, bringing one's attention to the catalyst that it may be known and loved and accepted. This takes conscious and repeated and sustained use of the will over time, and it takes its twin, shall we say, aspect of faith, which informs the self that that which the will is being applied is worthwhile and will bear fruit and has greater purpose when all seems lost, or when the skies are darkened, and when the self is in the throes of suffering, or when the world seems to reflect back to the self the quixotic or foolish nature of the journey to seek the One in a world which does not generally recognize the divinity of the self and the divinity of all things and the unity from which all springs. And this will can be applied to examining one's thoughts. This will can be applied to resting in stillness and silence, that the thoughts which associate with one may be seen, may be loved, and may be disidentified with, divested from selfhood, such that the self understands it is that which experiences thought. And finally, we would attempt to speak to the second primal distortion, as you have named it, which, for the application of this question, may be seen as something of a prerequisite to the creative act of conceiving and building and manifesting, and that is this capacity for focus. Your incarnations in their long arc through this and densities beyond is a continual focusing and refining of the focus, and finding that which is at the heart of the desires of the self, and bringing the focus into alignment upon that journey. Just as you are a focus of the Creator, so too do you, as co creator, as a logoic being, share this ground level, fundamental aspect of what it is to exist, what it is to be a manifest being of the One. And that is your ability to focus. Where you focus, upon what you turn your attention, is generally the reality you create for yourselves. It is at that saying known to you, as that saying known to you goes, where this instrument is stumbling upon this saying, but which sounds something like where the attention goes, things. This will have to be clarified in a footnote subsequent to the manifestation of this transcription. It's where attention goes, energy follows.
Where
Um,
energy flows.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
one
a
of
rhyme.
your, it is. I say that all the time. I actually
Yeah, I was
said
gonna
that
say
yesterday.
actually, like whenever you've been channeling, like they've turned around and said what this instrument likes to say as attention following,
Oh,
like it's actually
Well,
spot
there
on.
you go. And so they were trying to do the same thing with them, but they weren't aware of this one.
I, oh, I got you. That's so funny. Um, I say that all the time. Jeez. Okay. One of your principal works as an entity seeking the One is to become conscious of your already operating ability to focus, to bring your various distracted and myriad focuses into alignment, that in unity you may be a mind body spirit complex, one pointed in their seeking of the one, in their service to others, in their surrender to the one, that the self may, in this intense, sustained, and stable focus, be an instrument of the one, that the Creator may make music through the self, whatever the self's gifts and limitations, that this intense discipline of the personality may become so crystallized that it is effortless and spontaneous and of the moment without pretense. We are Quo, and we would ask if there is a follow up to this query.
No, thank you very much.
No,
So, sounds like focus is very important.
that's like a beautiful soliloquy on the powers of manifestation. And of course, she was talking about the
100%.
creative principle in the question.
Yeah, no, dude, I was going to say the same thing. That's like Ra's manifestation masterclass right there.
Yeah, or kudos, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But like,
Yeah.
like
Lottie and
there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there. Like, but it all comes down to the same thing from The Secret, like 150 years ago, or whatever. That you get your vibrations the right place, and the things come to you.
Well, you do the focus, and when you're focusing and when you're doing it for the creator, you're kind of, you're balancing the love and the wisdom, and you're creating, and you're doing that for power. And the power you're seeking is the power to serve. And that all comes back to manifestation. How do you want to balance love and wisdom? And how do you want to use your power? And do you want to use it to serve?
Spoke like a true magician, my friends. That is literally the exact thing that King Solomon said, right? You know, God was like, "Oh, you're such a good king, you can have anything," and he's like, "I just want knowledge so I can serve better."
And about 50 wives.
Oh yeah, and like a temple made of gold, and like the cross Jesus was hung on just across his door, just whatever he fancied, really.
I don't think
I like,
using Solomon as a role model is the greatest thing.
probably not. There are better ones. I like that they were saying that the kind of an urging to make sure that all of the focuses that we have are in alignment with each other. And
Oh, yeah.
so this idea that you can't have a schism in your focuses. So if you're focusing on being of service,
Right.
on then you also need to align your focus with healing, because you can't be of service until you're crystallized, and you do that by breaking open the green ray, healing, facing your inner beingness, and doing all of the things that you need to be in your most balanced, healed state. But if you're not even approaching or processing your catalyst, you're unwilling to make changes to your thoughts and beingness, that's counterproductive to your focus of being of service. So your focuses aren't in alignment, which I
Yeah.
can see depletes your will. And that's when you run into lack of manifestation. I know some are like, why doesn't anything ever work out? That I see there's something to, well, are all of our focuses in alignment? That's a question we can ask ourselves, because maybe that's the key to certain manifestations in life.
And when people say, why won't things work out? That brings doubt into what they're manifesting. And that thought alone can stop the process.
For sure.
So I was wondering, Ashley, if do you guys have transcripts of the channelings you do or recordings?
We have recordings. They're all on the podcast hub. Um,
Cool. If you guys can send me the link to it, then I can transcribe all of them for you.
Love
Oh,
you, dude.
thanks. That would be awesome.
Yes, that's so
Oh
cool.
my gosh, I could hug you to
Okay.
the screen.
Yeah, well,
so
it won't be a perfect transcription, but it will be like it'll have most of it. But I think you'd want to go through it and just like
For sure. No, thank you so much.
Can I just say,
That
I'm really
means
excited about
the
this,
world.
right? Like, because I went online the other day, and apparently we were like the 8th on the list of the best new spiritual channeling podcasts or something. So, like, I love it. Like, especially everyone should get involved. I'm so pumped. Thank you, Andrii, man. That's such a good thing. That's so awesome. Thank you, man.
yeah. Do you guys have a website? I can toss the transcripts on a website if you want.
That would be even more awesome.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
We should
I'll
get a
reach out
website.
to you. Thank you
We
so
should get a
much.
website. What?
No
Oh,
problem.
what?
I've
This
got
is so
I-
cool.
domain names.
I love you.
No problem.
I literally don't have the time to do any of that. And so they're like an angel.
Oh, thanks.
And I
Thanks.
have absolutely no skill or knowledge. So,
Yeah, for me, it's honestly like I set up the workflows or whatever, and then they just like it all does it automatically in the background at night.
techno servitors. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
bless you.
Andrei's got it going on.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. So here I got the AI to do the summary for us. In this passage, Ku describes how the human will may be unconsciously surrendered to external influences, and how spiritual awakening restores awareness of will as a direct conduit to the Creator. Transformation arises less from rearranging outer circumstances and more from applying steady attention to the catalyst of lived experience. Through sustained will paired with faith, the seeker learns to meet suffering, confusion, and doubt with presence and acceptance. Focus then emerges as a foundational creative capacity, aligning the self into a unified instrument through which the One may express. Points for seekers with books. Unconscious will is easily given away. When awareness is absent, the will tends to be shaped by outside forces and influences. At the unconscious level, this will be given away to sources outside the self. Those who would wish you to be unawakened to the sovereign power inherent within your being.
Wow.
Awareness is absent. The will tends to be shaped by outside forces. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Awakening restores awareness of will as a conduit to the Creator. Spiritual awakening reveals will as a means of directing the journey toward unity. The self becomes aware of this conduit to the Creator, this ability to direct the journey to the One. And this awakening in this context is different from being woke. It has to do with being aware of yourself and your mind and your thoughts.
And arguably being woke isn't.
Yeah, arguably. Yeah, I know there's. I don't want to get into too much contentious stuff, but it's been politicized.
It has.
What I was going to say.
Its original meaning had nothing to do with mainstream politics at all. But of course, now it's a buzzword.
Yeah,
it's a propaganda psyop.
For sure. I don't really like the word because of how it's being used, particularly when it's used in the context of like a cover word for saying something else. Like
Right.
I'm of the mindset, just say what you don't like. Just say who you don't like. Don't use like a buzz cover word to make it seem like you're saying something else when you're really saying something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And a lot of times,
passive aggressive liberalism.
Yeah, and a lot of times people don't even know what they're talking about. They can't even articulate what's bothering them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really madness. One thing I want to bring up, I know you're going through this, but one thing I want to bring up is that in the first part of this, I liked how it said in this one sentence, it says, a thought may be attracted to the self by the self's vibratory rate, by their unique pattern of blockage and activation and balance. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's basically saying, it's basically what you put out, you get back. And it's playing into the law of attraction, where if you're out there vibrating despondency, or if you're vibrating with like negativity and it's unconscious, you are highly likely to attract that which you're in the same vibratory rate as. And this has different dynamics, as like um, if you're always walking around with this idea that someone's out to hurt you, someone's out to get you, um, you're unloved, you're hated, whatever, that affects your vibratory rate. And so you're more likely to attract something that is going to give you the experience that you are vibrating in the same frequency as. So, like, if you're vibrating as prey, then you're going to attract most likely a predator vibration, because the nature of the creation and the creator is to give us what our hearts are putting out, that we're desiring or magnetizing or longing for. So if we want those things, then sometimes
And,
we just have to
and
be very mindful of what we're putting out.
right, and once you're like starting to be aware of what you're talking about, Ashley, then like it says, these thoughts that come to you, they're part of your own unique pattern of blockage, activation, and balance. Then you can start figuring out as these thoughts come in, what is, blocking you, what is activating your blockages and what is activating your balances.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a high awareness process.
Mm-hmm.
As to what you're saying, dude, like know yourself, no other self, be creator, right? Like that's the whole thing, right? I think personally that Buddha said it best. It's not often I say that because me and him. Anyway, uh, uh,
I don't know, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know
hey,
either, but
I've had issues with things that he said. I've openly spoke about it. I don't like to, but yeah, he says some really stupid stuff. I'm just saying. Anyway, um, he did say this best though. With our thoughts, we create the world. It's a very simple statement, but it's one of my favourite things out of any religious thing I've ever read, because you can apply it at so many levels, and it's true. Our thoughts, they're the things that do the building. They're the things that make everything. So, that's why I think a large chunk of the whole magical, alchemical, all of this, why the shadow work's so important, why all of these changes in consciousness are the things that change the world, It's all interlinked into the same the pot. Everything is magic,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, transformation comes from attention to catalyst. Growth occurs by meeting lived experience directly rather than attempting to control outcomes. Applying the attention and focus to the catalyst of one's life, bringing one's attention to the catalyst that it may be known and loved and accepted. Mhm. Yes, like I have also found, like, this beauty of not having to control, but just seeking to be of service. And it's just so much smoother and so much nicer when you have this guidance from the Confederation that, hey, you know what? You don't have to try to find a middle ground between fear, anger, control, and forgiveness, love, and acceptance. You can just go whole hog on forgiveness, love, and acceptance, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been so liberating to me. I think,
That's called surrender.
yeah, and well,
I agree. But then,
Acceptance.
but then the beauty I
Acceptance.
love about the Law One his quote also said that yes, all of what you said is true, but we are here to learn how to be heroes as well, right? You know, we're here to kind of to learn how to rise above those negative things, to be better, to be stronger, to be the middle pillar, arguably. But that's why it's 51%, not 70 something percent, right? You know, because you've got to be that middle point.
Well,
That's the best place we can be.
well, I know that's your Golden Dawn stuff talking, but um,
Hermetics,
I forgive you. I
or
forgive and love you and accept
Ra-metics.
you unconditionally,
What,
even though
dude?
that may not resonate with.
Ra, and Throth were probably mates, dude. Come on, it's not that literally every Hermetic principle is in the first 3 or 4 Ra sessions. It's like it's the same stuff, dude.
Well, you know, and I see Jesus principles in those.
I know they are in there. That's what
Yeah, yeah,
they are in there too.
yeah.
They're no different.
And you know that's why, like, so whenever people say, you know, like Christ freed us, that's how I understand it, is that he showed us that we can just forgive, love, and be kind to one another all the way to the bitter end, and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like for me, for like, you know, a big because yeah, well, once again, weirdly, I had a thing with kind of a Christian dogma side of it as well, didn't I? Really at the beginning, and yeah, arguably, Jesus turning up is a different thing to a religious or a spirit a thing. He's a cosmic event. You know what I mean? Like him coming here kind of changed what it meant to be human afterwards. So that's why he's important, and I don't care what spiritual system you're in. I don't care what planet, whatever. He is a very significant event for the planet, either way. You know what I mean?
That's why a lot of people.
So what I was going to say, the main reason why he is so important is because of what you said, right? He Buddha had come here and he told us all about the wisdom and kind of all the metaphysical bits and bobs of that, but he didn't give you any way out. You're still trapped in the wheel, right? Then Jesus turns up and he's like, right, okay, I'll get you all out the wheel. All you got to do is just love and forgive everybody.
Mhm.
Just love and forgive the lot, everything.
He
You
showed
love
how
and
to do it. He didn't just tell people, you know.
No, exactly. He did it. He
Right.
100% lived that way. But
Yeah.
the point is, you know, like Tom 9 said, the Jewish leadership at the time should have accepted him as the morphogenic change that he represented. And I think the world would be a better place if he had, if they had.
Mhm.
Well, that's why so many people call Jesus the way shower.
Oh yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like even like Hindus, like I don't think there's any actual religion, yeah, that will turn around and say no, Jesus, no, that guy's like they've all got a place for Jesus in whatever religion. It's like
Because
he's
Jesus was a
co-opted
title
into
of
everything.
leadership. Jesus was basically saying, "Wise person, go talk to him." It was never a elevated being.
No, but he should have been. That's the problem, right?
Well,
Like
because so many
he
people
came here
focused on
to
him being elevated, that thought form has taken him to that level.
no. Like, at the time, the Jews should have realised who he was and put him on a pedestal.
Well,
At
they
then,
did. They tried to make him king multiple times, and he
yeah,
refused.
but
He said
that
no.
is what he needed. What I meant was that he should have been put into the position that he was.
You know,
Yeah,
that's what happened. The Judas
so
thought
you didn't have the
would
martyrdom.
be able to force Jesus's hand, and that he would declare himself the Messiah, and that everyone would come to free him. And when, you know, Judas saw that Jesus was just letting them torture him, that's when he decided to kill himself, because he saw that Jesus would not accept power at all for any reason.
I don't know why that yeah, like, outright. What a dick.
You mean Jesus?
No,
Or Judas?
Judas.
Oh yeah,
What rubbish reason's that, man? Come on.
well,
You're
he
supposed to
was,
be your mate. If you do that.
yeah, well, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to get Jesus to accept his kingship, as a messianic, or what do you call it, zealot, as a zealot Messiah, because Judas was a zealot. Like,
And the main thing that, like, Tom of the Nine says is that Jesus came here to say, turn your back on all that nonsense.
mhm.
Yeah, you don't need the king. You don't need a Messiah. You don't need a whatever. You need to accept the Creator, right? Jesus' job was to get the planet to stop being mono-atheist and be pantheist. Know that God's in you, not around, not up there in the sky somewhere,
Mhm.
right? And the whole planet should listen and start doing that shit. Because
And then there's also, during Jesus's time, it was expected that a king would have power over life and death. And also, if he had become a king, then it would have caused a revolution, a civil war, and it would have caused a large amount of death and destruction. And that's
Well,
what was avoided.
that's what they wanted because they knew he was the son of Joseph, who was heir to the throne of David. They knew that about him.
Yeah, but
That's why they tried to get him to, that's why a lot of people, were upset that he didn't take up the torch or and fight against Rome.
Mhm. And that's why he couldn't accept, power in that area at that time, because it would have led to so much death and pain and destruction. And he came to be here of service and to be an example of love and of kindness and forgiveness.
anyway, can I say he didn't do a step wrong? What I'm saying is, after that, the people that he came back who were put here to start monotheism, right? To get everybody to start worshipping one God rather than 100, yeah, which they have done quite well. Good going, guys. Yeah, but instead of it being an external God like Yahweh, it should be the infinite Creator that's in you. And Jesus came here to get everybody to stop worshipping that guy over there and realize you are that guy over there, right?
And did you know that the Jews didn't actually start out monotheist, and that the majority of the Old Testament was actually written during their exile in Babylon?
Yes. So you talk about the Canaanite temple, right?
Yeah, and so they actually got monotheism from the Zoroastrians, because
Yeah, I
they
was
would
gonna say. I
take
was gonna
the
say once
Zoroastrian
again, back to the tree of life again. Ha!
yes,
See, back to this again. Why? Because it's awesome and it's everywhere.
even even after King David, during the time of like King Josiah, who had rediscovered the book of the law, the inscriptions would say Jehovah and Ashram. They were still bitheists. They believed in two deities, or like Ashram would, and the other gods. So it was still polytheist, or kind of like they had one main god, but they also had like kind of a pantheon.
That's it.
Um,
But the Zoroastrians believed, yeah, that you had one infinite creator, and all other gods, as we call them, are emanations. That's how the tree started.
mhm.
That's why, like, some of the earliest pictures of in the world have all got the same thing of people standing next to a tree that's got the same amount of branches in the same positions, because that's the point. It's like that represents the emanations from God down to us and us back up to God, right? It's linked from Gnosticism. It's everything. It's everything.
Should
Ray's
we get
Rex.
back? Should
No,
we get
Ray's Ray, dude. Ray's awesome.
to the lesson?
All right. Well, yes. So let's I guess. Hey Adam, welcome. And will will must be sustained and joined with faith. Endurance in seeking requires trust in meaning beyond immediate clarity, conscious and repeated and sustained use of the will over time. Its twin aspect of faith, that it is will bear fruit, has greater purpose when all seems lost. Yeah. So I know, like, for me, that's very true. Like, even when I'm like really sick, I'm praising the Lord for the health that I have, And I do my daily prayer of may all beings awaken, ascend the line to the new age sylvan timeline, which co-creates liberated what civilization sees, forgiving, loving, and being kind to one another, co-creating edible food forest communities, where all our needs can be met on site, with co-creation centers where we can make anything we can imagine, the libraries of knowledge to do so, and the spiritual practices to extend our knowledge in Jesus' name, amen. And
Dude, that was the worst mantra I've ever heard.
It's very thorough.
It's very thorough. That was cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You just need maybe turn it into a hymn. I think like that.
Oh yeah, with music that would be
Yeah,
nice.
that would be better as a hymn. I think, dude. I like maybe like
It shows your dedication and how much faith and will you have in it that you can recite it that way. That's very special.
well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Like, how did you just roll that off your tongue like that? That is, you've said that 1,000 times, dude. That's a mantra. That's not a prayer.
That's conviction.
That is something you've done so many times. It's basically like breathing.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think 1,000 times is about right. Maybe a little bit.
See, I think the only prayer that I've ever done 1,000 times is, "Why, God, why?"
Will supports a healthy relationship with thought. Through stillness, thoughts may be witnessed without identification. This will can be applied to examining one's thoughts, resting in stillness and silence, that the thoughts may be seen, may be loved, and may be disidentified with. Yeah. That's important, but I guess everyone knows that here. Focus is a primal creative capacity. Focus enables conception, manifestation, and alignment with deeper desire. This capacity for focus, the continual focusing, and the refining of the focus. Oh yeah, we're getting into that focus section. That's where they ended off. The self mirrors the creator through focus. As co-creator, the seeker shares the same fundamental creative attribute, just as you are a focus of the creator. You share this ground level, fundamental aspect, your ability to focus. Yeah, and I know that one of the most, they did like this survey of people and what were the most helpful things that a parent can teach their child. And apparently one of the top things was to focus.
Oh yeah, no, that's so valuable.
Yeah, reminding their children to focus. And so I make sure to remind my children to do that. And here is the Confederation reminding us to focus. Attention, I think it's like kind of like the magnifying glass. When it's focused, it can start a fire, like do something real work. But when it's not focused, it's just blah.
Okay, so I think that ADHD is like the worst double-edged sword ever, because I've got the most insane hyper focus, dude. I could focus on one singular thing for like just until the dopamine runs out, basically. Like, and I could do that one thing, 18 hours straight, one thing, nothing else, right? But then could like finishing the thing or all the other things that go along with that, the thing collapsing, it causes loads of other problems. But the focus bit is amazing. So if the focus bit's more important than all the rest of the stuff that's ruined my life, then this is another thing of me saying, I might have said it before, like ADHD is like a part of a prerequisite, or it's part of the fucking fourth density step up. It's like why so many people have fucking ADHD now, because I don't know, is that focusing part. Because there was another bit in it when it said that over the course of your different lives, like as you go through different lives, you your focus develops over like loads of lifetimes. It's not like just now. Do you know what I mean? So if every time you develop more and more focus and more and more and more focus and more focus and more focus, then my pre-incarnative focus box must be awesome, right? So then when I come into my body here now, you know, the justice balancing thing would give my body a shitload of focus, right? But that doesn't mean that I can do anything with it or any other aspects that are necessary for normal life. But that focus bit, I've got buckets of.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Mhm.
But it's like I said, it means that I can't really live a normal life like normal people. But, you know, for what they're talking about on there, perfect. Yeah. Wish it. Go ahead, brain.
Complex.
So Ed, what if what other people is calling normal is actually subnormal?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the theories on the rise in autism and ADHD on such a mass scale is actually it's the next step of evolution, and the amount of information that we're taking into our brains has triggered something that means that brains develop differently now. Epigenetics being what it is. So we're actually our fingers are changing slightly, our eyes are changing slightly. All these things that come down to how we process information. You know, typing, finger computer games, even reading, arguably is what started the changes. But the way that it changes means that the brain goes into different ways of processing that information, which are different to what people have done forever. So yeah, that's why it's an evolutionary step. It just doesn't seem like a good one because, you know, I can't organize things properly and stuff. You know, can't finish the sentence.
Yeah, one of your principal works as an entity seeking the one is to become conscious of your already operating ability to focus, to bring your various distracted and myriad focuses into alignment, that in unity you may be a mind-body-spirit complex, one-pointed in their seeking of the one, in their service to others, in their surrender to the one, that the self may, in this intense, sustained, and stable focus, be an instrument of the one, that the creator may make music through the self, whatever the self's gifts and limitations, that this intense discipline of the personality may become so crystallized that it is effortless and spontaneous and of the moment without pretense. So, yeah, attention shapes lived reality. What the seeker attends to becomes the dominant field of experience. Where you focus upon what you turn your attention is generally the reality you create for yourself. Unified focus refines the instrument of the self. Spiritual work brings scattered attention into coherent alignment. Bring your various distracted and myriad focuses into alignment, that the creator may make music of the self. Together, these teachings invite seekers to reclaim will with gentleness and perseverance, cultivating faith through uncertainty, refined focus, so that life itself becomes a clear and willing expression of the one. All right. So, any last remarks or anything? It's past 9 o'clock, guys. But I think that was a really wonderful session.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys were awesome.
Yeah.
You're all a wonderful bloody session. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Thanks. Okay, and then yeah, remember send me those links, and then I'll do my best to transcribe them with my AI servitors, as Ed calls them.
Oh, thank
Techno
you so
wizard,
much.
dude. You roll.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So next week we leave off right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Bill,
All right. So if we can all
charge of
remember that.
remembering where we left off.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next one
This is deep stuff. I'm glad we're studying it.
Yeah.
would be about the guides.
Yeah.
And hey, look, what a cool group of people to study with. Seriously, love you guys. Phone hugs.
Love you too. Phone hugs.
Bonus
Ted.
back to you.
So as we found
Right.
the infinite light and infinite love of the infinite creator within you and all around you, my friends. Go forth therefore rejoicing in that infinite power and infinite peace. Adonai Vasavargus.
Adonai
Adonai.
Baruch.
Namaste.
All right, well,
Oh